Um, Welcome back. We're doing a scary video. I did this the other day ago with Jake. You know him. I just posted a video about him of Ultimate Custom Night. He's the one with the long hair. And we made another video. It was a scary one. It was three scary videos, but the audio in that was so trash. It like echoed and stuff because I was using the camera mic and it wasn't really good. So I'm right here on Llama Arts. I subscribed to them like 3 years ago. Like I knew Llama Arts like I don't know like the time I probably knew Llama Arts before Corey X Kenshin if you know him. I'm doing this because like he actually kind of like he's so inspiring and I love his series called Spooky Scary Sundays. And like everyone, I talk about Corey Kenshin, I assume they know, and then they don't know. I'm like, you need to leave. Who doesn't know Corey Kenshin? He should have a lot more subscribers too. It's amazing. But yeah, let's get started. First one will be Pizza Delivery. I can't even speak, bro. Delivery. That's pretty delirious of me, bro. Pizza Delivery Story 3. Okay.
This happened in April of 2021. My region hadn't been hit so hard by COVID, so most aspects of our lives were normal. I had graduated in 2020 and I needed a job. I was 18 at the time, almost 19. I wasn't studying and I didn't know what the hell to do with my life. So in March, I got a job at Pizza Hut as a delivery driver and kitchen hand. The night seemed normal. It was one of those days that didn't seem like anything interesting would happen, but those are always the days when the unexpected happens, you know? It was around 10:30 on a Saturday night. We closed at 11, so it was just me and my boss during the last hour. As usual, we got a late order. It was close, and I had finished mopping and sweeping the floor, so it was no hassle. My boss was always prepared for a million orders to come at the last minute, so he asked me to do it as fast as possible. The restaurant was located in a plaza on the main road. The traffic was consistently heavy on a Saturday, so I avoided the main road and took the side exit. Even though the plaza was in one of the busiest parts of town, this street, however, was always so dark and empty. This street was also really long.
It can't be it can't be a horror story without one thing at least being creepy. Of course, everything around here is like bright and stuff, and it just so happens the road you work on is creepy.
All you could see were the traffic lights about 500 meters ahead. Something was confusing me though, like my eyes were playing tricks on me. There was this black shadow blocking part of the lights, and there was this metallic object
Ew.
shining in the light above, bobbing up and down like it was floating. As I got closer, I could see the bottom of this dark silhouette. It looked like it was walking.
No, we're taking another way. Turn the wheel. Turn.
I realized it was some drunk idiot
No.
dressed in all black walking on the road. Or so I thought. I couldn't entirely see them, and I didn't know what they were carrying. So I approached with caution, preparing to brake or swerve. I got close enough to see this person was dressed in a long coat with a hood similar to a cowl, which is unusual where I live. I turned my car lights on bright and honked my horn, hoping that they'd move to the side or something, but they didn't even flinch. Finally, I got close enough to see that it was some asshole dressed as Death, carrying a scythe. Something was odd, though. People, even if they are on the sidewalk, usually look over their shoulder at an approaching car, but they didn't. As I drove past, however, this person ever so smoothly looked right into the window of my car on the driver's side. It gave me such a fright, like when people clap in your face. I passed them too quickly to see their face, let alone see what gender they were. After I passed them, I looked into my rearview mirror trying to see them, but it was so dark. I stopped at the traffic lights, and that's when I started to panic. I remember those scary clown guys who used to block people's path and tap on car windows, so I went through the red.
Watch. Now he's gonna tap on the window with the scythe. He's like, give me your money. I mean, your life.
No one was on
Because he's the Grim
this road
Reaper.
anyway. I pulled over to the
Just don't
side
listen
and
to
tried
me.
calling the cops at the station, just in case somebody hits them, but no one answered.
That's a bad spot to park. I'm gonna hear. I'm gonna hear
Remember,
that
my
in a
boss
moment.
told me to hurry, so I just went on with the delivery. I got to the house and parked on the side of the road, and I gave the people their pizza.
Nice keychain, bro.
It's always awkward handing over the pizza in silence, so to make conversation, I told them what I saw. They laughed and said that it was probably someone making a TikTok. I laughed as well.
Invisible.
I guess it was a pretty good prank. I got in my car and went to start it, but I couldn't find the keys. I checked outside my car as well, but I couldn't
They were in
find
the
them.
thing.
I searched for ages, but no.
No, they had to be in that car somewhere. They had to have fallen out the thing. You saw it. It was. How would it happen?
I started to panic and kept thinking about that person I saw on the street. I jumped into my car and locked it from the inside. I almost started crying when I heard jingling. I looked to my right to see that person dressed as Death, holding my keys, staring into my window. I felt everything.
Give me my keys. Give me my keys. Like, stop
My
him.
body pulsating, but I couldn't move. It was like they were staring into my soul. Eventually, I started acting on instinct. I don't remember thinking or doing it, but all of a sudden I was holding down the locks inside my car. My car is small and only has 2 doors, so I could easily reach across and hold both the locks down. They started spamming the car remote and trying to open the door. I was using all my energy to hold down those locks. I don't think I'd ever used so much effort and strength before in my life.
You see, why is that necessary? This dude is doing a whole yoga pose in his car. He's like,
Hi, I'm Renata Bliss, and I'm your freestyle dance teacher.
oh no, was that my leg? Whatever. Just take the keys and go.
Again, I froze. I tried yelling at them, but I was holding my breath. Finally, a peep of strange sound came out as I gasped for air. I started screaming profanity at them. I screamed so much that my words became gibberish. A feeling of numbness took over my body.
Why are you saying anything then? You're like, bro, it
And I
sounds like
couldn't
a
hear
Sims
myself
character.
screaming anymore. My whole body was being controlled by my anxiety, and my ears were ringing. I was sweating profusely. All this time, I couldn't take my eyes off them. This person, this thing, standing over my car with a scythe. I knew that if they got in, I wouldn't stand a chance. The shadow from the hood hid their face. Was this even real? They stopped trying to get in and just looked at me. I started screaming out of exhaustion, and I became dizzy, and my vision was blurred. There was a silence, and then about 10 dogs started barking close by. This gave me hope. While leaning on the scythe, they lowered their body and put their face only a few centimeters from the window. Finally, I could see this person had covered themselves with a skull mask. We both froze and just stared at each other. I couldn't help but look into their eyes. The eyes. There was something unnerving about them. They didn't look like they were holding in laughter, like it was a prank. Through this creepy skull mask, I saw that they just looked curious, like how a little kid looks at an animal in the zoo. I shut my eyes and started calling for help. I had been screaming for so long, why couldn't anyone hear me? I feared that fatigue would take over and they'd get in. At this moment, I swear I was almost convinced that death had come to collect me. I remembered my phone had Google Assist. With my hands still in the locks, I tried my luck and said, "Hey, call 000." It worked, and my phone contacted emergency services. I could not describe the feeling I got hearing the voice of the operator on the other line. I heard the blunt jingle of keys dropping. I opened my eyes, and the person dressed as death had disappeared. I tried looking around, but I didn't want to move. I just spoke to the lady on the line while holding the locks. She told me to keep doing what I was doing, and that she was sending the police. I waited on the line with her until the police arrived. It felt like hours, but it was only around 10 minutes. I told them what had happened. Because the person was threatening and I feared for my safety, I was required to make a formal statement to the...
I really don't think he was threatening you. He was like, take your keys. Take your keys. He's like, I'm trying to help you. And you're gonna call the police on me.
Station. They told me they'd keep it on file. The officer spoke.
Okay, let's talk about this dude's hair. Why is it lining bolts in his hair? Like, I can't think.
Neighborhood, and none of them heard me
didn't
scream
care.
or saw anything, and they were used to the dogs going off at night. I found my keys around 2 meters from my car. I called my boss, and the officers followed me back to my work, where I signed out. I then followed them to the police station. I called my parents, and they took my statement. It was almost 1 a.m. when it was finally finished. This was a couple of months ago, but sometimes it feels like I'm going crazy. It was probably some asshole messing with me, but they just looked so curious, like they were studying me. Or they enjoyed watching me feel helpless and terrified. I still do deliveries, but I never leave my keys in the car.
I mean, did you lock your door? Because I don't know.
Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. If you would like to support the channel, check out the merch link in the video description.
Next video, True Tinder Dates Horror Story.
Thanks to Shudder for sponsoring this video. Get a free 30-day trial using code LLAMA at Shudder. This happened when I was 17 years old. It's been nearly 2 years since my girlfriend broke up with me, and I was very chewed up about it on the inside. I've called her several times, but it always went to voicemail. I've tried
Is this dude's favorite color green? His eyes is green. His sweater is green. His wall is 2 greens.
texting her on
It's an
Messenger
ombre.
since, ironically, we were friends on Facebook, but still, not a single response. As the weeks went by, I became very devastated and was worried that I'd never find love again. My brother told me to just forget about my ex-girlfriend and that it was time for me to move on. He introduced me to this app called Tinder, which he said was great for online dating. I was very familiar with online dating, but never actually done any of it, because there was no way that I even felt like hooking up with some random person I met online.
Oh, I would never do that. I need to know them in person. Like, if I meet someone in person, the best way to do it is you become friends. You get to know them more, you know what they do. And then you know if they're good for you or not. And then you can date. You don't just go on some dating app, find someone random. They could be like, you don't know what they're hiding. They could be a killer. But on the outside, they appear just as normal as anyone else would that you know. I wouldn't do that.
But I figured it couldn't hurt to try it out, so I decided to give it a shot. After I finished setting up my account and was done creating my profile, I just started randomly liking a few of the girls that I thought were pretty. I'm not picky, I just wanted to make sure that I found the right girl for me. A few
You know, these animations are a lot better than the ones that we actually reacted to the other day ago with Jake. Okay, what is this? What is this shot? Look at that. He's staring into my soul. He's like. But well, I reacted to horror shorts party, and like I feel like all three of the animations were different animation styles, but these ones are like the same, and they're like actually like they make sense because like the second one at the beginning, this dude was like he looked like he was 3 feet tall. He had glasses. He looked like someone. This was all Christmas horror story, 3 stories, all Christmas horror, and the second animation, this dude looked like someone from Family Guy or American Dad. He had glasses too, and he wanted to kill Santa, but the Santa that went in his house was his dad. That's such a weird horror story. Trying to remember the first one, it was also weird. Okay.
weeks later, I've had already received my first match on Tinder. Her name was Robin. She had blue hair, freckles, and beautiful amethyst purple lips. According to her profile, she had the same interest in the stuff I was into, and was even around the same age as me. Even better, she lived in the same town as me. By the way,
That's just too good to be true. I feel like
I
that's a
live in
scam.
Memphis, Tennessee. We started having a friendly group chat on Tinder, which was going well. Her message said, "You may not know me, but we went to the same high school."
Okay, I'll trust her a little bit better, but I need proof she went to the same high
I
school.
replied, "Are you sure?" She said, "Yeah, I was always the quiet one at the back of class. Anyways, I think you're really cute. We should hang out sometime." I agreed and asked her to where she wanted to hang out, where to meet her, and what time I should be there. She said we'd hang out at her place and meet her at the park tomorrow night at around 9 p.m. I accepted. I got to the park that night at around 9 p.m. sharp. I didn't call her because I didn't want to sound too desperate. Some time passed and I finally decided to call her to no response. I also tried texting her to no avail as well.
She's not coming.
It was around 9:30 p.m. There was still no sign of her, and I was beginning to grow impatient. I was starting to think that maybe she wasn't going to show up at all. I sighed and said, "I knew this was too good to be true. She's not even here yet."
That's what I said.
Screw it. I'm going home. I can't believe I came out here this late for nothing.
Yeah,
Oh
good
well.
choice.
So much for online dating. I was about to start my walk home when suddenly I saw a black convertible pull up to my location. The car stopped right in front of me, and the window rolled down, revealing a creepy-looking old man.
Ever happens to you, you're walking, like, don't get in anyone's cars. 'Cause I would rather ask for a ride than someone offer a ride, because they could want to do something to you. And that would not be good. So don't get in random people's car. This dude probably hasn't showered in a month. Look at this dude's face. What is that, bro? What is that? The green stuff on his
He was
face.
probably in his mid-30s.
No.
He gazed at me with a weird smile and asked, "You going somewhere, kid?"
Oops. Hold on, look at this dude's eyebrows. Look at his eyebrows. he was like, oh, I want to make my eyebrows look good. Zzz, oh crap. Yeah, might as well do it with the other one. Zzz. Oh no.
I responded, "Yeah, I'm just headed home." He asked me why I was out there this late, and told him that I was supposed to meet someone, but it seemed like she wasn't going to show up. He said, "Oh, you must be waiting for my daughter." The man, by the name of Jeff, introduced himself to me as Robin's father, and said that Robin has told him a lot about me. He told me that Robin couldn't meet me at the park because she remembered that was the night she had to go to a slumber party with her friends, and she forgot to cancel. He told me she wouldn't be home till 11 o'clock, and that's when I knew my night was a bust. He apologized and offered to give me a ride home. I knew it was going to take too long for me to walk, so I accepted. It was going to be a long drive, but luckily I knew all the shortcuts to my house.
You're dead.
I told him where I lived and how to get there as I got into the car. After a few minutes, I was feeling tired from being out so late, so I closed my eyes for just a few short seconds and dozed off. Not long afterward, I awoke.
I wish I could fall asleep that quick. I just said quack.
Feeling a little drowsy, I rubbed my eyes and realized that I was still in the
Oh,
car.
Jesus.
I asked the man where we were, as this wasn't the usual route to my house. He said, "Relax, kid, this is a shortcut. We're almost there." I asked where we were going.
No, drop me
and
off.
He looked at me with some sinister grin on his face and just chuckled. I felt my heart almost explode out of my chest as he did that. I looked down and saw a handgun sticking out of his jacket pocket. I put two and two together and realized what was happening. I told him, "Let me
Ariana
out
died.
now." He responded, "No." Then, he put his foot on the accelerator, speeding up the car. I tried to get out, but he had already put the child lock on. It seemed...
What's getting out gonna do? You're gonna get out, roll off, and need to go to the hospital? I would just, you know, if you tackle him though, he'll like mess up, and then you could crash. So I'll like try and reach over, put my foot on the brakes, and then I would destroy this dude, fold him like an omelet, and then say, "Open the door! Open the door!"
hopeless. I was trapped.
It's a pretty long
There was
video.
no way out. To make matters worse, we were driving through a forest area with no cell service. I couldn't even call for help. But I just had to get out. As soon as the car started to slow down, I stabbed him in his shoulder with a pocket knife that I found on the floor. He screamed in pain as I was able to turn off the child lock, unlock the door, and run as fast as I could into the woods. While I was running, I could hear multiple gunshots being fired at me. But luckily,
This
not a
dude is
single one hit me.
thirsty.
I
Oh my
never looked
God.
back because I had the fear of the man chasing me at the back of my mind.
Who wants that dude?
I dove behind
Dead.
a tree and hid under a bush. I heard the man yelling, "You can't hide from me! I will find you!" I covered my mouth with my hands and held my breath, trying not to make a sound. Everything was silent for a while, until I saw the man was looking for me with a flashlight. He flashed it past me multiple times. When I heard his footsteps going deeper into the woods, that's when I knew the coast was clear. I ran, using the flashlight on my phone to help navigate me through the dark and scary...
Now steal his car. He's in the middle of nowhere. I don't think he knows where he's at. So he's gonna like... The best thing to do, if you go in the car, go back. Like go all the way back. Because you will get where you were before. And then you know the directions to go to your house.
woods. In hindsight, I knew that was a stupid move.
But knowing that this is a horror story, he's probably not going to do that, and he's going to do something really stupid.
Considering the situation, I could hear the leaves crunching and the twigs snapping as I ran, which would also easily give away my position. When the crunching and snapping got louder, I looked behind me and my heart dropped when I saw that the man was chasing me. I ran as fast as I could with the man hot on my tail, firing every single last live round he had in his gun. But thankfully, the shots missed again. "There's nowhere for you to hide," he said. I thought I was going to die, until I heard the man trip over something, and I was able to get away unharmed.
Oh no! I fell in and I can't get back up!
I kept running until I was out of the woods and back onto the road. Looking behind me then, he was nowhere to be seen, which means I'd lost him. I sighed in relief, and then I saw a red car driving down the road. I was able to wave it down and told the driver that I was kidnapped and almost killed by some crazy man in the woods. took a lot of begging, but the driver finally gave me a ride to the police station, and I told the cops everything. Unfortunately, I didn't get the man's tag number, but I gave the police a clear description. After the police had run a search, they told me that he didn't even have a daughter, and that they've been trying to catch this guy for months. As it turns out, he's wanted in several countries for the kidnappings of multiple teenagers and young men. How I managed to escape him is a miracle. The officers kindly gave me a ride home, and I didn't tell anyone what happened except my brother. The man was never found, nor was he ever caught, and they say he's still out there, even to this day. What's even worse is that I stupidly gave him my address, so who knows if he might try to kidnap me again. Needless to say, my days of using Tinder weren't over after that. The whole incident just made me a lot more cautious from there on out.
That was really good. I like that better. Wait, what? That's why I was longer. What is this? I don't know. Next video. The creature in the forest. Sure. I said forest.
Llama sale! Llama sale! We've got big llamas, little llamas. What about medium-sized llamas? No. We don't have those. And llamas on hoodies! All
Oh, that's getting him like immediately. 10 hours. Oh no.
parents were traveling for the weekend, as it was their anniversary, and to no surprise, they wanted to be alone. This meant that I had to take care and be in charge of my little brother, Oliver. Our home and neighborhood were surrounded by woods, and Ollie liked ambling around the trail that was behind our house, but he couldn't go back there without permission. So naturally, since I was 18 and he was 10, I'd have to go with him for precautionary purposes. It was a little while before lunch, so I decided to join Ollie in his trek, so that way my appetite would be in a more salubrious state. It was spring, and the leaves were meager and just starting to grow back onto the trees, which also meant I had to watch out for any sort of dangerous animals that could possibly lurk out and cause harm to any of us. I could hear Ollie sniffing the air, and then him groaning at something. "Something smells like shit," he said nasally, as he pinched his nostrils shut.
10.
"Hey, watch your mouth," I retorted, surprised by the sudden curse. Just because Mom and Dad aren't here doesn't mean you're allowed to say whatever. I did, however, sniff the air. He was right. There was a smell of rotten meat that permeated my nose. It was like roadkill. I saw what looked like legs by a tree about several yards from us. "Stay right there, okay?" I instructed Ollie. He nodded in agreement while keeping his hand on his nose. I leisurely walked forward.
Why is dude's eyebrows built like some trapezoids?
The tree to see what the thing was. It was a deer, and it was dead all right. Flies droned and swarmed around it. I was used to seeing dead animals around here. Hunting was pretty frequent. But there was something that rather took me aback. It was the fact that the way its neck had been ravaged into. It was almost entirely gone and torn down to the bone. A bear would go down to the muscle and stop there. But to the bone? This had to have been from something much more vicious. But what? I looked back to see if Ollie had actually done what I urged him to. He did, but he was peering out to the woods. His eyes, so fixated, were filled with concern and his face unnerved. "You okay, bud?" I asked, noticing his expression. "Something's out there," he murmured, as he continued to seem alarmed.
Okay, why does Ollie look like Steve from American Dad? Just like the dude I was talking about earlier in the video I didn't post. He looked like someone from American Dad.
I looked to see if he was kidding around. All that was in my view were the trees and brush. It might have been a deer or something. Don't worry so much. Come on, let's go back and get some lunch. And so we did, just to reassure him. I made ourselves some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches as we watched a movie for a bit. Ollie usually liked his sandwiches, and he'd been done with it in a few minutes, but he ate his so sluggishly. I didn't bother asking what he saw, because I figured that he must have scared himself, and that he'd get over it in a while. However, the back of my mind was still unsettled by that deer. How could its neck have been mutilated like that to such a grisly state? Night dawned upon both of us, and Ollie was begging me to let him sleep beside me as I put him to bed. "What's gotten into you?" I asked him. "That thing's still out there. It was staring at me. It was dark and big. Bigger than you. I'm sure you just scared yourself. If anything was out there, it wasn't anything dangerous." He continued to beg me, but I kept refusing, and told him to close his eyes and that he'd forget about it in the morning. I laid down in my bed, ready for a good rest. I like keeping my TV on, just so I have a source of light in my room. I felt my eyes starting to sag and get heavy, as I slowly felt myself growing drowsy. There was a sudden snap from outside. It sounded like a stick being splintered. I figured it was some animal, like another deer, but what would be out at this time of night? My TV was still on, so I decided to watch a little bit more, just so I could go back to sleep. Without even thinking, my gaze floated to the window, and my heart punched the inside of my chest. There was something at the window. I couldn't see what it was, save for the eyes.
This is why you have to get curtains. Buy curtains. They can't see through the window.
They were milky and opaque, almost lifeless, but they were staring right through me. I tried to make it seem like I didn't see the figure outside, and just roll over onto my stomach and pretend to be asleep to try and avert it. I then heard something against the glass. The thing was scratching my window. The sound was piercing my ears and grated at my nerves. My chest started to feel full as my breath started to shorten. My window was starting to open, and I could hear that thing climbing into my room. Its presence was clearly made, as its shadow covered my entire bed in black. I sat elating for what seemed like hours, until I felt the mattress start to sink in. The springs groaned as the thing had climbed onto the bed. I felt I could literally die from fright right there.
It looks like a tree.
The thing started to move across my bed. I was trying my best not to breathe so hard, but I was completely terror-stricken. It then stopped and stood right at my shoulders. I felt its giant feet clasping onto my shoulder blades. I could hardly breathe. I had a mirror to my right that allowed me to see what was above me, and chills ran down my spine. The creature was black, large, and at least 7 feet tall and lanky. Its arms went down to its calves.
Weirdly.
Its chest leaned over me and stretched to an impossible degree. It didn't even look human or animal. It seemed alien. I shut my eyes tight, hoping that it was just some dream. I could start to hear the creature's heavy breaths and growling. It sounded like a dog, but much more disturbing. As it grasped harder, I feared the worst. My ears were ringing. I wasn't breathing while I bit my tongue. My eyes were shut so tight, and the blood flow in my head stopped almost completely. Something then beckoned it off of me, and the creature leapt off. Through my ringing ears, I thought I could hear something like thumps and rusty hinges. I painfully felt the blood flow starting to come back, and I blacked out. Morning came and I had a massive headache now, and my chest felt so tight. I needed to go wake up Ollie and make breakfast, and I...
Ollie? Who? Who's Ollie? Probably not in his bedroom.
reluctantly did so. I went into his room, but found his bed empty.
Yep.
I checked all of downstairs to check if he was there somewhere. Nothing. I then thought of the one place he could definitely be if he was hiding. I went outside and took to the path in the back of the woods. I walked some ways while trying to get over the pain in my head when I saw his bare feet by the tree. "Ollie," I said, exhausted and annoyed at my grimace. "Come on, what are you—" I stopped. I felt my whole entire world collapse as I was bludgeoned with every single negative emotion possible. I put two and two together, and it answered my questions as it brought my distress up tenfold. Ollie was sitting there. His skin was pale. His cloudy eyes trickled with blood, and his neck was mangled to the bone. He was dead. He wasn't lying. That creature was still out there.
Ollie! No! And that was good.
Hope you all enjoyed the video, and thanks for sticking around. The bigger llama plushies are back in stock now.
Anyways, that was 3 horror stories by Llama Arts. I'm not sure if there are 2 horror stories. I'm not sure if it says that. It just says horror stories. But so yeah, I hope you have a good day and bye.